I did not know a single morning could erase a childhood. What began like any other day slowly turned into the moment my name stopped feeling like it belonged to me, and my life became something that could be exchanged. I ask you to stay with me until the end of this chapter. What you are about to read carries pain, fear, and a small spark of hope that refused to die, even when everything else was taken away. Before you continue, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for one another. Date changed. It happened on April 17th, 2008. Name changed. My name in this story is Aminu. Age changed. I was 10 years old. I remember the sun rising slowly that morning. The sky looked normal, but my heart felt heavy for reasons I could not explain. Our home was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a child uneasy. I washed my face outside with cold water, watching dust float in the air. My mother avoided my eyes. My younger sister held onto my leg longer than usual. I did not know then that this was her way of saying goodbye. My father sat on a wooden stool near the door. His face was hard, like a wall that had never learned how to bend. He did not speak to me the way fathers speak to sons. He looked at me the way people look at goods they plan to sell. I felt small under his stare. My heart beat fast, and my hands shook, though I did not understand why. Later that morning, a stranger arrived. He wore long clothes and carried himself with pride. A camel stood behind him, tall and calm, chewing slowly as if it had all the time in the world. The animal's shadow fell across our yard. I noticed how my father's eyes followed that camel more than they followed me. I stood near the wall, holding my sandals. I remember thinking about school, about the small slate I used to write on, about how I wanted to learn to read better. None of those thoughts mattered anymore. My father spoke with the stranger in low tones. He explained things with his hands. He pointed at the camel. He pointed at me. He nodded many times. The stranger nodded back. They both looked satisfied, like a deal had been completed. No one explained anything to me in a gentle way. My father revealed that I would be leaving with the stranger. He showed no emotion. He acted as if this was normal, as if a child's life could be weighed against an animal and found equal. My legs refused to move when the stranger came closer. Fear crawled up my spine. I looked at my mother. Tears ran down her face, but she stayed silent. I understood in that moment that she had no power to stop what was happening. That silence hurt more than shouting would have. The stranger took my arm. His grip was firm. Not cruel yet, but not kind either. I felt my childhood slipping away with every step he pulled me forward. I looked back once. My sister was crying openly now. My father had already turned his back. As we walked away, dust filled my mouth. The camel followed behind us. Each step felt like I was walking out of my own body. I wanted to scream, but fear locked my voice inside my chest. That day marked the beginning of my persecution. The stranger took me to a place far from home. The house was made of mud and iron sheets. The air smelled of sweat and animals. From that first night, I learned that I was no longer a son. I was now property. They made me wake up before sunrise. They showed me hard labor. I carried heavy loads that bent my back. I fetched water until my arms burned. Hunger became my close friend. When I was slow, they beat me. When I was tired, they mocked me. When I cried, they told me pain would make me strong. I slept on the floor with insects crawling around me. My body ached every night. Sometimes, wounds stayed open for days. No one cared. I learned to hide my pain, because showing it only brought more suffering. What hurt more than the beatings was the words they used about my worth. They revealed to me again and again that I was less than human. They reminded me that my own father had traded me away. Those words sank deep into my heart and stayed there. I began to feel like God had forgotten me. I prayed the only way I knew how, but my prayers felt empty. Fear followed me everywhere. Even when I closed my eyes, I saw my father turning away. I felt anger growing inside me, mixed with shame and confusion. I was just a child, yet I carried the weight of rejection. Some nights I wondered if dying would be easier than living like this. Other nights, I promised myself that if I ever became free, I would never treat another human this way. This was how my story of suffering began. This was the first chapter of my persecution. This was the day my life was traded, but not the day my hope died. There are pains that do not bleed, yet they hurt more than wounds. This chapter holds the days when my body was alive, but my heart felt buried, and every sunrise came with fear instead of hope. After the day I was taken away, life changed its meaning for me. I no longer counted days by the sun or nights by sleep. I counted them by pain, hunger, and fear. I woke up before light touched the ground. My eyes opened, not because I was rested, but because my body had learned to fear being late. They showed me work that was too heavy for my age. I carried loads that bent my back. I walked long distances under hot sun. My feet cracked and bled, but I was still pushed forward. When I slowed down, they revealed their anger through punishment. My body learned pain so well that flinching became normal. Food was never enough. Sometimes it came once a day, sometimes it came late, sometimes it came with insults. Hunger lived inside my stomach like a sharp stone. I drank water just to silence the pain for a short while. At night my body shook, not from cold but from weakness. They treated me as if I had no name. They showed me through actions that I was not important. I slept on the floor, close to animals. Insects crawled on my skin. My wounds stayed open because no one cared to clean them. When sickness came, it stayed longer than it should. What hurt me more than the labor was the way they looked at me. They revealed through their eyes that I was less than them. They reminded me of my past in cruel ways. They showed me again and again that my own father had let me go. That thought pressed on my chest every day. I was watched closely. Every movement mattered. Every mistake became a reason for suffering. When I tried to rest, they accused me of laziness. When I cried, they showed me that tears had no value here. Slowly, I learned to cry without sound. Fear became my shadow. I feared the morning. I feared the night. I feared footsteps behind me. Even silence scared me because silence often came before pain. My mind never rested. My heart beat fast even when nothing was happening. Inside me, something began to change. I started to question everything I had been taught. I wondered why pain was used as control. I wondered why love was missing. I wondered why belief was forced with fear instead of kindness. These thoughts scared me, but they also kept me alive. They noticed my silence and revealed their suspicion. They watched me more closely. They increased my suffering. I was punished not only for mistakes, but for who I was becoming inside. Persecution followed my thoughts, not just my actions. There were moments when I felt invisible. Other times, I felt like a target. My body became thin. My eyes lost their brightness. I felt older than my age. Childhood slipped away quietly, without permission. At night, when everyone slept, I stared at the dark roof. I thought about my mother's face. I remembered my sister's hands holding my leg. These memories hurt, but they also reminded me that I had once been loved. That memory became my secret strength. I did not know it yet, but this season of suffering was preparing my heart. In the middle of persecution, confusion, and pain, a small space was opening inside me, a space where hope would later enter. This chapter was about survival. This chapter was about being treated as less than human. This chapter was where my pain deepened, but my story was far from over. Sometimes hope enters quietly, like a small light that dares to shine in a very dark room. This chapter begins where fear still lived in me, but something new slowly started to grow. My days continued in the same hard way. Work, pain, hunger, silence. Yet something inside me was changing. I began to notice small things more deeply. Kindness became very loud to me because it was so rare. Even a simple act stayed in my mind for a long time. One afternoon I was sent to fetch water far from the house. My body was weak, and my steps were slow. Along the way, I met an older man resting under a tree. He watched me struggle with the container. He showed concern through his eyes. He helped me lift the load without asking for anything back. That moment confused me. Later, I learned that this man believed differently. He did not force anything on me. He did not threaten me. Over time, he told me about a person called Jesus. He revealed this name with calmness, not anger. He showed me care before belief. That alone felt strange and new. I did not understand everything he shared, but I noticed how his words carried peace instead of fear. He explained that Jesus cared for the weak, the rejected, and the broken. He revealed that suffering did not mean abandonment. These ideas stayed with me. I kept these thoughts hidden. I knew the danger around me. Even thinking differently could bring punishment. My persecution had already taught me how costly questions could be. So I stayed silent, but my heart listened carefully. The more I observed, the more I noticed differences. Those who followed Jesus acted with kindness even when no one watched. They helped without demanding. They forgave instead of punishing. They treated me like a human being, not property. These actions spoke louder than any speech. Inside me, a quiet struggle began. Fear warned me to stay the same. Hope invited me to see more. I felt torn between survival and truth. Every day my decision felt heavier. I knew that choosing a different path could increase my suffering. The persecution around me did not stop. In fact, it grew worse. They noticed my silence had depth. They revealed suspicion through harsh treatment. I was watched closely. My work became harder. My mistakes were punished more severely. It felt like pain was trying to push me back into darkness. At night, I thought deeply. I remembered the kindness I had seen. I compared it to the cruelty I lived under. One brought fear, the other brought peace. My heart slowly leaned toward peace, even though it scared me. I began to feel that Jesus was not just a name. He felt like a presence that understood pain. I felt seen for the first time in a long while. Even without loud prayers or open words, something inside me felt less alone. This chapter was about awakening. This chapter was about quiet courage. This chapter was when hope first knocked on the door of my wounded heart. There comes a moment when suffering reaches its limit, and the heart either breaks forever or finds a reason to live. This chapter is the turning point, the place where my fear met something stronger than pain. By this time, my body carried many marks. Some were scars on my skin, others were scars inside me. The persecution did not slow down. It became sharper, more focused. They revealed through their actions that they no longer trusted me. They watched my eyes, my silence, my movements. Even breathing felt like a mistake. They increased my labor. I was given work meant for grown men. My hands cracked open. My back burned. When I fell sick, they showed no mercy. They revealed that weakness was not allowed. Pain became a daily lesson meant to crush my will. What hurt most was the isolation. I was separated from others. They kept me alone so fear could speak louder than hope. At night, I lay on the hard floor, shaking from exhaustion. My stomach burned with hunger. My mind replayed every beating, every insult, every reminder that I did not belong. During one of my weakest days, I collapsed while working. My vision blurred. My ears rang. I felt my strength leaving me. I truly believed my life was ending there. No one rushed to help. No one cared enough to lift me. In that moment, something deep inside me reached out. Not with words, not with strength, but with desperation. I remembered the kindness I had seen. I remembered the name that had brought peace instead of fear. I did not speak loudly. I simply opened my heart. What followed was not loud or dramatic. It was gentle. I felt calm enter me like cool water on a burning wound. My fear loosened its grip. My pain did not disappear, but it no longer owned me. I felt seen. I felt known. I felt held, even though no hands touched me. Later, someone came and helped me stand. They showed unexpected mercy. They allowed me to rest. This had never happened before. I knew inside me that something had shifted, not just around me, but within me. From that day, my suffering continued, but it changed shape. The beatings still happened. The hunger remained. The persecution did not stop. But my heart was no longer empty. I carried a quiet strength. I carried peace that could not be taken by force. They noticed this change. They revealed their anger through harsher treatment. They tried to break what they could not understand. Yet the more they tried, the stronger my inner peace became. Fear slowly lost its power over me. I began to forgive in my heart, even while being hurt. I began to see my persecutors as wounded people themselves. This did not excuse their actions, but it freed me from hatred. That freedom felt like light in a dark prison. This chapter was about encounter. This chapter was about inner rescue. This chapter was when my pain was finally seen, and my heart found a place to stand, even while surrounded by suffering. Some freedom does not begin with open gates, but with a heart that refuses to bow to fear anymore. This chapter carries pain, courage, and a quiet victory that persecution could not destroy. By the time this chapter began, my body was still trapped, but my heart was no longer owned by fear. The persecution did not end when my faith became clear inside me. Instead, it grew stronger. They revealed their anger openly now. They showed me that choosing a different path would cost me everything. They accused me of betrayal. They treated me as a shame to my family and community. They increased my punishment. Food was reduced, rest was taken away. They beat me not just to hurt my body but to break my spirit. They wanted me to return to fear. They wanted me to deny what had brought peace into my heart. I remember one night clearly. I was locked in a small room, dark and airless. My body ached, my mouth was dry. I felt weak and alone. In that moment, memories flooded my mind. I remembered being a child at home. I remembered laughter. I remembered pain. I remembered kindness. I remembered the presence that had held me when I collapsed. Even in that dark room, I felt peace again. Not because the suffering stopped, but because fear no longer controlled me. I knew that whatever happened to my body, my soul was safe. That knowledge became my strength. Over time, something unexpected happened. Some people around me began to change. They watched how I endured pain without hatred. They noticed that I did not curse them. They revealed curiosity instead of anger. A few even showed me secret kindness. Small things like extra water or softer words became signs of light. Eventually, circumstances changed. I was moved away from that place. My chains did not fall suddenly, but my suffering slowly loosened its grip. I was no longer treated as harshly. I learned later that others had spoken on my behalf. I saw how faith can move hearts quietly. Today, when I look back, I do not forget the persecution. I do not erase the wounds. I remember the hunger, the beatings, the loneliness, and the fear. These memories matter because they tell the truth of what many still face every day. But I also remember this. Persecution did not win. Love did. Faith did. Hope did. I share this story for those still suffering, for children still crying in silence, for believers still hiding their faith, for hearts still afraid to choose truth. I encourage Christians across the world to pray earnestly for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for strength for the weak. Pray for courage for the fearful. Pray for protection, comfort, and freedom for those suffering in silence. If you feel a call in your heart to turn away from sin and toward God, you can do so right now. You can speak to God simply and honestly. You can tell Him that you believe He sent Jesus to save you. You can admit your sins, ask for forgiveness, and invite Him to lead your life. You can choose to follow Him with faith, trusting in His grace and love. This story ends here, but many stories are still being written. May compassion rise. May faith remain strong. May love overcome fear.